What is up, Film Inspiration Nation? It's your boy Edgar Ybarra. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Tonight I want to do something a little different. I want to talk about mindset and going through struggles. So probably about 2 weeks ago, I wanted to hear what you guys, the audience, had to say with regards to what you wanted to see more out of me. And one of the requests I got was specifically this topic: the mindset to get through struggles. So it's a little broad, but I do have some 2 cents on that matter. But before that, I just wanted to kind of throw out some hellos to the new subscribers of India, Mexico, Pakistan, Iraq, Ecuador, Argentina, Nepal, Peru, the United States, Colombia, and Venezuela. You guys, thank you so much for being here. I really, really, truly do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart because, there's a lot of stuff that you can watch online. And so I really do appreciate you guys jumping aboard, and I really do hope that you guys are able to take away something from my process, my journey, as as I do my filmmaking thing, so that it can enrich your process and your filmmaking journey. So welcome to Film Inspiration. Just got back to work today from after about a week of vacation. I feel a little rusty here in front of the camera, but you know what? It is what it is. But it's a very beautiful thing to be able to go back to work that you thoroughly enjoyed, to where it's to where when I got back to work today, it wasn't like, oh man, this sucks or anything like that. Like it's a very beautiful feeling to do something that you really love to do, to where, as cliche as it sounds, it's not really work for that reason. In that in that sense, and for that reason, it's not really work. And so I really do wish that upon everyone. Um, was very productive here at the house. Spent some great family time with the wife's family. And so, yeah, I really do recommend everyone in today's hustle culture. We're all hustling really hard and a million miles an hour, but don't forget that the reason why you work is to live, and not the other way around. You don't live to work. So always remember to take some time to just relax, to chill, to just enjoy. And that's it. Nothing else, or nothing crazier beyond that. Part of my enjoyment was honestly just like keeping the videos flowing and keeping my stuff getting out there, and also editing the feature film while we have still. So little by little, that's happening. If you want to see that process, just go to the how to playlist below on my channel. All right, everyone. So here's another cool little thing. I was recently invited to be part of a filmmaking challenge where, from what I understand, a bunch of other highly, highly talented filmmakers. It's a circle of people that I was invited to join with, for like one of those filmmaking challenges, except it's not a competition so much as it is a collaboration, in which myself and a bunch of other different filmmakers will be putting our own, I don't know, like 10-minute pieces together, tying them all in to one different theme. But we're going to see, and it's really exciting because I'm going to be able to see different people's interpretations, or what they do with that one theme, but their versions of it in their style, in their short films. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if you ever need anything to inspire you to keep on going, um, there's always, get together with friends, and just challenge each other to make a short film, even if you have no actors. We've all seen those movies with no actors, or the one actor, the one actress in your home, or whatever. Get creative. I want to see, and some were brought to my attention recently, and damn, like it's going to be pretty awesome. So, excuse me, very very proud to be able to participate with such a talented group of filmmakers from throughout the world, by the way. So that's really exciting, but more on that later in Film Inspiration. So back to the original thing that I put out a request about 2 weeks ago. What do you want to hear from me, or what do you want to see out of me a little bit more with regards to what I can do for you guys content wise? One of the things, Mr. Jared Cordova, out in New Mexico, USA, had a he had a great one. This is one that I think filmmakers, we need to talk about that much more, because it's one that has applied to my life, which is the mindset to get through struggles. And this is so important because it has so much to do with whether or not we get to the keyboard or to the computer to work on that script, or work on that rough draft, or work on that scene, and then collectively bring them together to make, excuse me, to make hiccups, to make that short film or that feature come to life. It has so much to do, except the topic of mindset to get through struggles is so little talked about that I love this one, Jared. So let's go at it, bro. I'm gonna be looking off to my right because I jotted down a bunch of notes. I basically just formulated a bunch of thoughts with regards to this topic, structured them basically. So um, yeah, so the mindset with regards to getting through struggles. It's a mindset about the ability to keep on going. Um, Let me first start off by saying that being strong takes practice to not get lost in the emotion of things. So I understand, in the filmmaking world, or even outside in the filmmaking world, there are things that are gonna test us. There are gonna be highs, and the highs will be good. Those highs will be amazing in our lives, and there will be lows as well. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that it's a part of life. Peaks and valleys, right? So you're gonna have the good times, but you're gonna have the bad also. So it's not about whether or not um, life is gonna throw you some curveballs. It's about how you bounce back from those. So probably in my recent adult life, the best lesson that I myself got with regards to being strong, and I'll explain why I'm doing the air quotes later, but um, part of part of the biggest lesson why or part of my biggest most recent lesson in my adult life behind being strong had to do with when my wife got sick. um, 2018, June of 2018, finished principal photography on the my independent feature film, All We Have, still in post, still bringing it together, etc. And then come late August and then going into September, we discovered that my wife had cancerous cells in her abdominal area. And I, it was the first time that it was not her first rodeo with regards to this topic. It was my first rodeo for sure with regards to this topic. And when the when the doctor came in, very nice doctor here in Southern Arizona, comes in, and he's got his whole spiel, his whole routine down. God knows how many times he has to deliver bad news. He had a little army of aspiring doctors that were studying. I forgot what the word is, but they're basically doctors. They're students that are going to be doctors. And so they're behind him. He's there, and he says, "Hey, look, you've got these cancer cells in your abdominal area." And he had told me probably about 48 hours before, "This is what we kind of think it is. Please don't tell your wife." And so for about 48 hours after, I had to pretend like I knew nothing. And for 48 hours, I was freaking out, just because it was the whole situation was new to me. But yeah, again, it was not her first rodeo. Doctor was very respectful, super great guy, and he and his entourage of aspiring, soon to be doctors then leave the room, and it's just me and my wife. And I've told this story tons of times before, and I'll never tire of telling it here on Filmspiration, because it was one of the one of the moments in my adult life, in my recent adult life, where I really had a much more clear definition of what being strong is, literally laid out in front of me verbally. Doctors leave the room, and it's just me and my wife, and she, I'm sitting by her side. She was sitting up in the bed, and she just turns to me and she extends her hand. I place my hand in her hand, and she just looks me in the eye and says, "Hey, it is what it is. Let's just do what we need to do." And I had never seen somebody with such fortitude, with such resolve to just take in information of being told like you've got cancerous cells in your abdominal area, and then to just respond and say that. Uh, there are a few moments in my life where I've learned what strength is by seeing it right in front of me. Not that she set out and like, I'm gonna show you what strength is. Like that wasn't even what that moment was like. Um, it was just her strength that I got to observe face to face. And so um, I quickly got the hint that she already kind of knew, okay, this is what it is, and we just need to go about what we need to do. It is what it is. These were her words. It is what it is. Let's just do what we need to do. And so what needed to be done, that was September. Um, and then, eventually we went back for a much bigger surgery in November of 2018. So probably about 2 months later, to have, the whole process done to where they removed the cancerous cells from her abdominal area. Let's go back to September of 2018. Somebody who knew both my wife and myself, who was very close to me, basically like a brother, I discovered through self-admission on behalf of this person that they were in some sort of a weird religious cult. And they had their own, him and his circle of people, they had their own God and everything. And they, he tried to basically get him and his God in to see my wife, and I didn't allow it. And that was truly one of the lowest, shittiest things that I had ever experienced, because when my wife or anyone else for that matter has cancer, you don't fuck around with that. You don't play with that. And somebody tried to, for purposes of scoring points for their cult. So I did not allow this visit that was requested of me for these two individuals to go in and see my wife. And so that was the line in the sand that I drew. And another friend, another intermediary friend, who's the type of friend who, if you got punched at a bar, he would apologize to the other person and then get in your face and say, what did you do? Versus standing by you and say, you know what, I'm standing with you. So the second person, who was also like a brother, their stance was, oh, just just let it go. It's not, it's not. So this was a person who had no spine to stand up for what's right, no spine to take a stand and say, no, this is right, this is wrong. You don't do this, you don't do that. Simple as that. And so then I found myself alone with regards to two people I had been extremely close with, because I drew a line in the sand. And very much to my wife's example that I learned in that moment, this was what it was. And I just did what I needed to do, which was to not let anybody take advantage of when my wife had cancer. So with that said, these two people who were close to me, basically like brothers, it doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. It did, but I'm happy that I drew the line in the sand, because when people have cancer, you don't fuck with that. I don't care if it's for cult purposes or for whatever it is. You don't play with that. You don't play with that shit. And that's how and why I drew a line in the sand, and that's why I found myself alone when these two people poof. When you draw a line in the sand, people magically disappear because they realize, like, holy fuck, this is not the person we should be fucking around with. And damn right. So that said, thankfully, so that figurative line in the sand I drew, that was September of 2018. Then, like I said, fast forward to November of 2018, we had the procedure done, and cancer cells were removed from my wife's abdominal area. She's $1 million, thankfully, and It was a new lease on life when it could have potentially gone the other way if we had never discovered that those cancerous cells were there. And so it really changes your way of thinking and looking at things in your perspective. But not only celebrating this new lease on life and moving forward there, but also moving forward with the fact that um, one former friend who was part of a weird religious cult, or probably still is, who had tried to take advantage of when my wife had cancer, and another one without a spine to take a stand by me in that case, were suddenly not in my life. And I'm not going to say that that didn't hurt once more. It did. But still, I did what I needed to do to move forward. And that's where the being strong comes in. Being strong and moving forward doesn't mean that life is not going to throw curveballs your way. Being strong and moving forward means that you still um, do what you need to do to put the emotions aside and still get to work, still write that script, still edit those scenes. In my case, still make an entire feature come together, which I'm working on till this day, whether or not people see me putting in the ungodly amounts of work, sometimes 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 6 a.m. until I have to go to work. And then, of course, building out the Filmspiration platform. And so whether or not people see the work, which I don't give a fuck about whether or not, you know, whether or not people see the work, because I am putting in the work. And I have only God to account to, the real God to account to. Um, Being strong is really, in my opinion, like my version of it, right? I know everyone's got a different version of it. So here's the way I bring it to the table. My version of being strong, from what I learned from my wife that day when the doctor gave her that news, was um, putting the practice in over and over and over and over and over again until putting aside the emotions to do what you need to do becomes just a little easier every time. The putting aside the emotions and saying, okay, this aside, I still need to do this. And keeping that clear head with the emotions set aside. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying ignore those emotions. I'm not saying don't process those emotions. They need to be acknowledged, they need to be processed, but not at the expense where, all your shit's going to stop, where you're going to stop editing, where you're going to stop doing, what you need to do in your process in filmmaking, especially in an age when we can do so much with regards to the technology that's literally in our hands and at our fingertips. Um, Again, do acknowledge and do process those emotions, but not at the expense of, not so much to the point to where it's going to be to the detriment of, things stopping. It can't be to the point where things stop, though. You have to keep on going. You have to keep on pushing forward, and it takes practice. So, if you're a person who's maybe not there, as I used to be, at that level to where you can very easily maintain a clear head and a clear heart to put emotions aside and still do the thing that you need to do. Um, don't feel bad, and definitely don't be hard on yourself. It takes practice. It takes practice to get to that level. To get to that level of, not not having curveballs thrown your way by life, but knowing what to do when they come your way, because they will. They will. It's not about whether or not, they'll come your way. They'll come your way. It's about how you deal with them. Like, just like that saying, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. Same exact thing. I just go on the baseball metaphor and mentality here. So, um, let me look at my notes here for a moment. That's what I got with regards to being strong. It's putting the practice in to be able to put the emotions in your head and in your heart aside enough to still process, but at the same time, on one hand, still process, but on the other hand, you're still moving forward. You're still getting your shit done because in the end, here's my next little note. In the end, the results are what speak volumes. You can go through the highs and the lows, and I've heard, I've not been there for the very intimate moments of a lot of filmmakers that I might have heard of that might have had crises, either personal crises or just any type of thing going on in different people's lives that then get them to you know stop editing or stop the production or stop that script that should have happened. um, you got to keep moving forward. You got to put the emotions aside in your head and in your heart and process them. Not process them. You have to process them, but not to the point to where you are not moving forward. You still need to move forward. On the other hand, um, being strong means, and here, let me read my notes, right? Being strong uh, only means being able to still move forward despite the curveballs. And it takes practice. Good God. It takes practice. This is not some groundbreaking stuff, also, everyone. This is not, you know, you can probably be watching this video and maybe you're like, oh, good job, Edgar. Like, I already kind of knew all this stuff. Well, this is my version of it. You know what I mean? This is not groundbreaking or earth shattering stuff. It really isn't. This is the way I bring it to the table. And if you appreciate it, great. And if you don't, fuck it. Like, whatever. Um, but the thing is that that's what being strong is. That's the mindset of being strong, to keep on moving forward. Now, let's talk about moving forward and why moving forward is important. We live in a day and an age where, and this is very different from the 1990s when I started goofing around with my dad's Panasonic video camera that he bought in 1990 to graduate my sister, or to film my sister graduating from the 8th grade. That was in 90, and then in 94 I started goofing around with my dad's video camera. So no internet. Internet came around probably about a year later, and it still wasn't even mature as it was back in 05, 10 years later. So no YouTube, no nothing. And now we're at a point in human history where basically, and I've said this tons of times before, you've got literally a micro budget television studio to where you can film things, you can write things, you can write text, you can film video, you can film audio, you can share it, you can upload it to networks, and you can figure out how to monetize it. Like, there's so much that can be done, but here's the trick: there's so much that has to be done too. So what I mean by that is that in a day and an age when these amazing tools like video cameras and editing systems and the internet, and it's all been democratized, it's all literally there for all of us to use as we will for whatever our thing is. Maybe you're a filmmaker, maybe you're not, but the thing is that the tools are there. And even more so important to move forward is the ability to do so if you're a person who is, who's maximizing the heck out of the internet, or maybe you have a little DSLR camera that you bought at Costco, and then a little editing system, and then of course a lot of us have the internet. If you are a person like me who chooses to carry a little bit more of a load, my what I call the core four, as I raise three fingers, right? My core four have always been writing, shooting, directing, and editing. It's just in my blood. It's just in my DNA. If you don't like it, screw it. I've got nothing to say to you, because I have been criticized. Oh, you think you can do everything, Edgar? It's not that. It's just that. Those are the four things that I've always done proudly, and I actually like carrying that load. I really do. But the thing is that when you carry the load of a little bit more, maybe you have to carry the load of a little bit more. It takes discipline. It takes discipline. 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 Let me say it again. Discipline. It takes discipline to sit down roll up your sleeves and do the work that you need to get your shit done. You can do it. You can get a lot done with even the basic tools, but it takes discipline, and not just that one time to, where you sit down and you had your big idea and that was it. No, it takes regular, consistent discipline to get your shit done. In order to have that regular and consistent discipline, you need to have that strength right here and right here to move forward despite the bullshit, that the curveballs, the obstacles, whatever you want to call it, despite the muck that life is going to throw your way. It takes discipline to sit here at the computer and pour my heart out, especially with regards to what my wife went through. And by the way, this is not a, oh, poor Edgar story. Like, I'm not the focus of that story. And so I'm not asking for, anybody's pity or anything like that, much less from my wife either. Trust me, like, you don't want to deal with her when it comes to basically, not offering pity. That's not her at all either. So I bring this story up because it's probably one of the most profound times in my adult life where I got a metaphorical reminder slap in the face of what strength is. Maybe a renewed lesson slap in the face of what strength is and being strong. It takes discipline, you guys. It takes practice. Again, don't beat yourself up if you're not quite there mentally or emotionally, but it takes practice. I will go and beat you up if you're not putting the practice in and getting back up onto your feet whenever you quote unquote metaphorically fall to the ground. It's not about whether or not you fall, it's about whether or not you get the hell back up and keep on doing your thing, because your thing needs you. Let me say that again. Your thing needs you for it to get done. That's it. No one else. I don't know how else to say that. And so for that, for you to be there for your thing, your short film, your feature film, your YouTube channel, your whatever, you need to be strong enough to have that consistent discipline for the consistent work that needs to be put in. And it takes practice. I swear it takes practice. You guys, I'm about to hit 40 years old, and everyone's like, a lot of the stupid notion is, oh, like a lot of other people around me, oh, I'm getting old at 40. Fuck that. I'm kind of happy to be 40 because in so many aspects of my life, and especially also with regards to being strong and the discipline of being strong, I'm getting better at so many damn things, so many aspects of my life. Just so many aspects with regards to, like, a small handful of goals that I am achieving, I am, accomplishing. I'm getting better. And so, that's why I'm kind of happy to be getting older, because that's what that means. I'm probably going to make a video on that topic again also, but so personally, I'm kicking ass. And I'm happy to kick ass as I enter my 40s. And so guess what? As I enter my 40s, as I'm about to leave my 30s, I've got a lot of practice in. And that's why when motherfuckers want to come my way and try to swindle me, try to fool me, it's like, motherfucker, I've been around the block a few times because of the practice. Yeah, starting to see that? Pattern recognition because of the practice. The practice that goes in to having the ability to put the emotions right here and right here aside, process them over here while still moving forward over here. Practice, motherfuckers, practice. And what can I say? Like, I've only gotten better the older I've gotten, and I dare any person who wants to come try to bring their bullshit my way, please. I see you coming 10 miles away. Practice and being strong. I've got that shit, and you know what? I'm still doing the reps. I'm not just speaking here because I'm done and that's it and I'm strong and I've reached the finish. Like, no, it's an ever, it's an evergreen thing, a thing that you always have to work on. Practice, practice. It takes practice. Being strong and having the ability to put the emotions aside and still moving forward takes practice. That takes discipline. It takes discipline for me every single day to get up in the morning and edit, and then bang out a video for the platform at night. It takes practice, and it also takes practice, trust me, to smell those people coming 10 miles away with their bullshit. I see you coming. So just to close out on that, you guys, that's what I can tell you about with regards to the mindset that I use to get through struggles. I know it's a long-winded answer. I hope you were able to take away a lot from that. But, what can I say? It takes practice to practice and practice and practice. And, the more you practice anything, the more second nature it becomes. What becomes second nature? The fortitude to remove the emotion and try again and again and again and again. That is what takes a lot of practice to move forward, to get the work done in today's tech world, where so much is possible. You can do so much if you're okay with putting in the work, rolling up your sleeves, being the writer, the director, the cameraman, or the DP and the editor, um, if you're not, if that shit's like, if you're not too high above that, and you want to roll your sleeves and do that, man, you can get so much done. You can do a lot and depend on less people, frankly, too. But to do more and to do anything, but to do more, it takes that discipline. That discipline takes that practice. It takes practice. You have to practice at being strong. You have to practice at getting up early in the morning or staying late up at night, whichever one is your preference for editing or writing that story, or putting in that extra time outside of your work hours. It takes practice, you guys, and it really does take. Let me see my notes here. I want to make sure I'm not screwing this up. So yeah, I mean that's what it is. I kind of covered everything I want to talk about with regards to mindset for getting through struggles. It takes practice, you guys. It takes practice. I know I've gotten super repetitive. I know this video is kind of long. I know this is probably nothing earth-shattering or groundbreaking, but it's new in the sense that, you're hearing it from me. I'm telling you an extremely personal story of when my wife had cancerous cells in her abdominal area, when one friend and his cult tried to take advantage of that shit, when another friend couldn't have the fucking balls to stand by me. Yeah, I opened the fuck up. So hopefully you can take something away from it. Hopefully you can take something away from that process of being strong for your process and your journey. Nothing would make me happier than for you to have listened to this, to listen to me open up my chest, rip out my heart, show it to you, um, for purposes of not a pity party, but for purposes of you taking something away from it. So that way, when you apply it, if you can take, maybe not even the whole thing, but just like, little nooks and crannies and apply it to your situation, to your process. That's why it's called film inspiration, the process. If you can apply it to your process, then, oh man, nothing would make me happier. I mean, that's the point, right? Anyway, you guys, I love you guys. I will talk to you guys later. Run out there, do your thing, tell your stories, practice being strong. It's an extremely personal journey, but I know you can do it. And it takes time. Don't be hard on yourself. It takes time to get to that point. So that's what I got for you. You love you guys. You love you guys. I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys later. And yeah, hope you're able to take something away from this. Bye.